BookTube, it's Missy, and today I'm here to share with you 4 mini reviews for books that I read in the month of July that didn't get enough love. These books didn't actually get a full-length review during the month, and I briefly mentioned them in my haiku review for the monthly wrap-up, so I wanted to do longer reviews today since I had time. I'm also going to be doing a giveaway, so look forward to that at the end of the video. The first book that I want to talk about is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. I picked this book up in June for the TBR Takedown 4.0. The challenge that this was going to fit in was to read a book that you weren't comfortable with or you're not familiar with. Something to that effect. Basically, this book is a contemporary dystopian, overly hyped, and it's kind of a literary fiction, I think. I could be wrong, but it has won awards. So, yes. So with that being said, it was out of my comfort zone, and I didn't know if I was going to like it. I buddy read this with Maddie over at the Maddie Hatter. I will leave her channel link down below. But basically, this book was absolutely amazing. I am so glad I picked it up. I rated this 4.5 stars. There is a whole bunch of things that I want to talk about, and I will try to keep it, in a linear fashion, but I get confused when I'm talking, so, because I get excited. Let's just get on with it. So, our main character, there's 3 POVs in this book, but there's one main character. His name is Arthur Linder, and he is an actor. At some point in time, he has touched the 3 POVs of our story, one being Clark Thompson, who is his childhood best friend. 2 is Kristen Raymond, who is a childhood, like a child star in the theater production that he is working on. And 3 is Jevin Chand, how do you say his last name? Chandhuri? I don't know. We'll just call him Jevin. Jevin is a paparazzi that has done an interview with Arthur, and Arthur actually gives him like some inside scoop that he hasn't told anybody. And so those are the POVs that we follow throughout the book. When the book is, in the first couple pages of the book, Arthur has a heart attack and dies on stage. After this event, a plane from Russia comes over to the United States and infects the entire nation with a flu-like symptom that causes people to perish in 2 days. So, with that being said, now the entire world is completely wiped out. What do we have left? We have these 3 main characters that we follow, and it's from day 1 to 20 years later. And the cool thing about this book is that there are no transition pages, there are no chapter headings, there are no timestamps. So you don't know what date it is because nobody pays attention to the dates anymore. They kind of have a idea of how many years after the outbreak it is, but nobody really keeps track. And so it is about 20 years later from the initial outbreak that we find all of these stories taking place. But the cool thing about it is Emily has a magical way of weaving past and present seamlessly without confusion, which I thought was absolutely amazing, and one of the reasons why I gave it 4.5 stars. I was never confused about what the POV was, or who the POV was, or if it was in the present or the past, or what was going on. It was just always so well written throughout the entire thing, and I never got bored. So we have Kristen. I told you at the beginning of the book, she's 10 years old. She witnesses Arthur's fall on stage and his, immediate heart attack and death. So that affects her because he was one of her mentors. Now that she is older, she's about, well, if it was 20 years later and she was 10, so I guess she's like 30 now. She's been going on a long journey with a Shakespearean troupe. They go from like little campsites and like little villages and towns throughout northern United States near the Great Lakes. So they go from town to town and they do their Shakespearean plays or their orchestras just to give, you know, life and humanity back to, you know, the individuals on this journey. And she participates in it. And then we have Clark Thompson, who during the outbreak was on an airplane that landed, I want to say in Iowa or Ohio, something around there. And he ends up living and staying in an airport in this city for the last 20 years. He ends up turning one of the rooms in the airport into a museum and collects items from the past that reminds him of, you know, who he was and how things used to be. And then we have Jevin, who ends up, you know, walking from Canada, where his brother lived, I think. I'm pretty sure he lived in Canada, to a place in, again, Northern America, and settles down in this place and gets married and has children. People just have to learn to survive. And that's all this is. This is a survival story of these three main POVs and how they function 20 years later. And it was beautiful. I just absolutely loved it. The next book I want to talk about is Vampires in the Lemon Grove and Other Stories by Karen Russell. This is the first time I've ever read a Karen Russell book, and this also was from my June TBR Takedown 4.0. This was a pick of to read a book that you recently acquired, and I had just gotten this book at the time. So these are 8 short stories. I've heard that she's a very strange and weird writer, and I completely agree. Her stories were very weird, very strange, and out of the 8, I only liked 4 of them. So I did give this book 3.5 stars. The 4 that I did enjoy had a beginning, middle, and end. And when I read a short story, that is essentially what I am looking for. I don't want to read a short story that takes you on this, you know, magical journey and then cuts you off in the middle of the story and leaves you hanging. And 4 of these stories did leave me hanging. I didn't know what was going on, or it didn't have enough information for me to enjoy it. So what I'm going to do is I'm only going to talk about the 4 that I did like, because that's what we want to hear, right? Positivity. Okay, so the first one that I really enjoyed is called Reeling for the Empire. It's about a man called the recruitment agent, and he goes from village to village. It doesn't matter whether you are poor and you are a rice farmer, or you are a emperor's daughter and you're in a royal family. It doesn't matter. This man will go from village to village and collect girls that, you know, the parents allow for him to collect. So basically he tells the fathers of these daughters a story about how he is going to take them to a factory and they are going to spin beautiful silk to save the country and the, you know, the empire, and it's going to be very patriotic and yada yada. It's going to help. And so the fathers, you know, they want to help their emperor, and so they sign their children off, their daughters off to this strange man that they don't know about. And what this agent does is he gives these girls a very weird tasting tea, and this tea makes them fall asleep. And when they wake up, they're in this like room, like a prison cell. It's very big though, because it has to house the reels and the silk machines. But what the funny thing about the book is the girls slowly start turning into silkworms. I mean, they're giant. They don't shrink or anything. So they're these giant silkworm hybrid humans, and they can make silk out of their fingertips. And I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. Like, how do you come up with this stuff? And so the silk that is produced, it's being made in their gut, and they can feel it. And then they have this like pressure, and then they release the silk through their fingertips into the silk machine. And then the loom on the silk machine creates these beautiful colors. And then, you know, after a month or whatever, some old lady comes and collects all of the rules for it, and then takes it away. And the girls, you know, are becoming more and more depressed, and one of them decides that she's had enough and she's going to end this for the girls and give them their freedom. And it was just amazing. I absolutely loved what happened at the very end. I thought it was kind of eerie and gross and creepy, and it was so good. The next one that I really enjoyed was called End of Our Term, and basically it is a story about a select few of our American presidents. They have passed away, and in their afterlife are reincarnated into horses. I don't know why. It's very strange. And a man picks these horses up and takes them to his farm and, you know, treats them like every other horse. Like, he feeds them and brushes them and lets them out to go prance around. But it's funny because 11 stalls of the barn are normal everyday horses, and then 11 stalls are, you know, dead presidents, and so they elect, you know, certain committees to do stuff like horse things, and it's just really funny. And no one ever really thinks about why they are at this farm, but one of the presidents does, and he decides that he's going to jump the fence because he's tired of being a horse and he wants to, you know, have a real afterlife. He doesn't understand what this limbo is. And it was just really funny. I mean, American presidents turning into horses is just super bizarre, and it doesn't make any sense. So that's why I enjoyed it. The next story that I really enjoyed is called The New Veteran, and it's about a woman named Beverly who works at a massage parlor, and there's a new law that was formed for the veterans when they come back from war, that they get 10 free days of a massage to help with their PTSD. So one day a veteran comes in by the name of Derek, and he has a huge back tattoo in memory of one of his fallen comrades. The entire unit got the same tattoo, and so what's funny about this story is while Beverly is giving the massage to Derek, she's slowly taking away Derek's sadness into herself, which is very weird. So if you've heard about like sin eaters where they take the sin from the person, or if you've watched The Green Mile where John Coffey can take like cancer away from people or bad things away from people and take it into himself, that's kind of like what this story is about. And so Beverly kind of takes this pain and sorrow from Derek and internally is now suffering. And it's just a very bizarre story, but what I really liked the most about it was that the tapestry on Derek's back comes to life, and I just loved that part because I like tattoos. So yes, that was one of my favorites. And then the very last story that I really enjoyed was called The Graveless Doll of Eric Muttis, and this is about a boy who has been picked on by these bullies for a while now, just for being nerdy, I guess. And one day these bullies go to their local hangout and they see a scarecrow tied to a tree that looks exactly like Eric Muttis. What's his name again? Muttis. And they don't understand what's going on. And so eventually they start picking away at this scarecrow. And I was hoping something really like super scary was going to happen, but now I can't remember if it does. So the boys, they're trying to figure out what really happened to Eric now that they believed he turned into a scarecrow and why he turned into a scarecrow. It was just very weird, but it had a beginning, middle, and end, and I really liked it. And I liked the fact that the bullies, you know, got what was coming to them. So yes, those were the 4 stories that I enjoyed from this book. The next book I want to talk about is Winter People by Jennifer McMahon. This story is about the past and the present in West Hall, Vermont in 1908, I think. So basically there's a girl named Sarah who lives with her dad and her brother. Her mom has passed away when she was first born, and so she does have this very strange auntie that lives in the forest. The auntie's not related to her, but she's kind of like a family friend, and not only is she a family friend, but she's almost like the voodoo witch doctor of the community, and so people go to see her for remedies and love potions and other spell making items to fix whatever ailment they have. Now everybody knows that she's kind of a witch, and it's weird because they use her but also they despise her. And so one day the village tells the dad that he needs to get rid of her, and he goes to tell her that, and she's really, really upset. And then his son dies, and he blames it on the auntie, and then he goes to her house and burns it down. And so the whole time Sarah's like freaking out because, you know, she loved this auntie. The auntie was telling her all about these magical things that was inside her, how she could see the future just like the auntie could, that she will have powers as she grows older, and that her daughter will also have powers. So you have this mystical background. Not only is Sarah witness to the death of this, you know, witch auntie, but she also is a witness to a girl that lives in her village as a corpse that is now alive. So she sees that the girl is not a ghost because she is in a physical body. She sees the girl is alive, and the girl takes off into the woods, and she becomes obsessed with the fact that you can bring people back from the dead. And her auntie tells her how to do it before she passes away. So you have Sarah, the main character. Now she's an adult. She's married to Martin. She has a daughter named Gertie. She had other children prior to Gertie, but they all passed away. And so Gertie is her, you know, her light, her love, her only thing that she cares about in this world. And one day Gertie too dies. So now she's like this vengeful person, and she's bitter and angry, and she, you know, spits on God, and then some crazy things happen. And now we jump to the present. And the present has two girls that we're following, Ruthie and Catherine. Ruthie is a teenager. She lives in a house in West Hall, Vermont. Everything takes place in West Hall. And she just so happens to live in the exact same house that Sarah used to live in years and years ago. I don't know if it was like 100 years or whatever. But she also lives in that same house. And one day she comes home from being out with her boyfriend, passes out, and when she wakes up in the morning, she realizes her mother is missing. And for days, she can't find her mom, but she finds clues in the house that she starts to follow, and she finds out that her mother has a secret that hasn't been revealed yet, and she has to meet people along the way in order to reveal this secret, which again is in some ways connected to Sarah. And then we have Catherine, who is a woman. Her husband has just died in a car accident, and she is mourning his death and wondering why he was being so secretive at the end of his life and what he was doing. And she ends up moving to West Hall because that was the last place that he was at, and finds out he spoke to who? Ruthie's mother before he died. And so all of these women are entangled in some way, all because Sarah. And why are they all entangled into Sarah's life? Because Sarah left a diary, and they're trying to figure out what this diary means and what the diary has to offer. And so, yeah, it was a very creepy story. it says on the back that it's reminiscent of Stephen King, and it could be in a way. Stephen King obviously goes more into depth when he talks about his characters, but the setting was very eerie and like a Stephen King novel. You have the ghostly forest, you have this creepy house that could be haunted, you have this mysterious diary left by Sarah, and then you have these ghostly figures in the woods that are in flesh. You know, they're not transparent. They're solid people that live in the woods, and it's a freaky thing, and people keep going missing. So you're like, what's going on? What's this mystery? I found it delightful. I gave this book, what did I give this book? I think I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I buddy read this with Will over at Bookish Empire, and we're going to be buddy reading another book this month. So definitely looking forward to reading more of Jennifer McMahon. And the very last book that I want to talk about is Crimson by Laura Foster. Now, Laura Foster sent me this book so that way I could review it. So this is her debut novel. It's YA, and it's paranormal. And when I first picked it up, I did not know it was an angel book, and it totally turned out to be an angel book, which I thought was very fascinating. It's about a girl named Dawn who has the ability to sense danger. There is a kind of screaming in her head, and her heart rate starts racing, and she can feel that something immediate is going to happen to her or anybody around her. And so with this danger radar that she calls common sense, she's able to get out of that kind of situation and flee any kind of danger that is coming. When I was reading it, I had a hard time getting into the book, the first half of the story, because there are a lot of grammatical errors, and there are a lot of repetitive words. But the overall take from the story was amazing. It has a new twist on angel history. You have certain angels that can do certain powers depending on eye color. There are angels that have purple eyes, silver eyes, and gold eyes, or red eyes. And the main angel in the story has crimson eyes, and so Dawn calls him the Crimson. And Dawn doesn't know what's going on. She does find out about these angels and about the fact that the angels had a war in the past, and Lucifer is trying to get out of hell, and that hell is literally frozen over, and he is chained in the ocean, or under the ice of the ocean, and he's trying to do anything in his power to be released from his prison. And so there are other people that are involved with Dawn, but it was just a fascinating story on how the angels came to be, what's going to happen, and you know, with the fact that she knows about these angels. And also there's these things that are kind of like zombies that are being manipulated by the devil himself. So it's very creepy, and the story again was very unique, and it's an angel story that I've never heard of. And so I did give it 3 stars, and I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to read more books by Laura. She did say that she's writing a sequel to this, so that's very exciting. And yeah, so the giveaway is the paperback edition of Crimson. If you are interested in reading a new angel story, like I said, there are a few grammatical errors because this is the first draft of a debut novel. I don't know how many drafts it goes through with editing, but this is the first editing draft. So maybe there's 2. I'm not sure. But if you would like a paperback copy of Crimson, let me know down below. Just say I would like the Crimson book, and I will be doing a giveaway when I come back from vacation. So yes, I liked it. I can't wait to read more, And those were the 4 reviews that I wanted to share in depth in my July wrap-up, but I didn't have time because it would have been too long. So thanks for watching. Thanks for, listening to these reviews in a longer version. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!